Hi, readers. Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. We're going to enjoy another great time as Goddess Garden Book Chat. This is for adults who love a good novel, regardless of the genre, the weirdness, the planet it takes us to, or the openness we find in the pages. So I want you to relax. I want you to have a good experience here today. And while we get set up so that we can get to some great book club reading, here, let me give us a little theme music to get us started. I think we're ready to get started, are you? Let's go ahead and take our theme music down. And we're going to start our club, as we will with every meeting, by reading out loud what I consider to be the most important part of our group, our statement of why we love being here. Be comfortable, be welcomed, be aware. Topics discussed in this club include nonfiction stories, biographies, thrillers, shifters, assassins, romances, mercenaries, captives, paranormal entities, motorcycle club life, aliens, and billionaires gone wild. From basement dungeons to other worlds, I will read them all and share thoughts in this safe space. So let's make sure we keep it a buck, people. I do have a script because I want to make sure that I maximize the experience for both your time and the work that we're going to review. So I've tried to make sure that I keep my notes on point so that when we're together, you come to a club meeting and you get your tea or you have yourself a cup of coffee and we sit down and talk about some of these great books. Everybody knows that we're going to get in and we're going to get out. Now, I also want to say that whether it's AM or PM, wherever you are enjoying this book, I'm happy that you're a part of this conversation, and I hope you'll continue to be a part of the conversation that we have about some of these works. You can find me on Spotify, which is where this recording is now, so if you're here. And I'm also going to be uploading soon to YouTube. I'd like to occupy that space as well, just so that everybody has a chance to enjoy being a part of this club. I'll keep you posted as I search out other great spaces that I think readers like to find themselves enjoying other readers. I'm a firm believer that our path will dictate what we find enjoyable in literature. And what I mean by that is that there's something out there for everybody. There has been a book written for every aspect of the human experience. So let's see what I found for us to enjoy today. Now, as I mentioned before, I've gone through the physical library phase. I really have. It was awesome. Totally dug it. But as you mature in life, moving around with that much literature, and as you continue to grow your library, it gets harder and harder to maintain physical books. 5,000. So what I decided to do was go electronic. Now, today's book, and I'm super excited to share this, are The Pros and Cons of Vengeance. It's by A.E. Wasp and May Archer. Here's the cover of the book. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to do some different type of photo imaging for the books coming up in the future so that you can have a better view of what we're going to be enjoying. As I said, the authors are A.E. Wasp and May Archer. The narrators are Tor Tom and Alexander Steele. And because I'm a Tor Tom fan, I've enjoyed a lot of his works before. So I was super excited when I saw this audio version that he would be one of the narrators. Listening to Alexander Steele's voice, I believe I've heard him before, but I'm not really sure. Um, I got this book because of my membership in a Plus catalog. So this was a part of the inclusion of that, and I was able to enjoy this. And what I always do when I pick a work is I do a little dive into the author, little background information. And I found that this particular writer, um, and I'm assuming that the bio represents A.E. Wasp because there are two names, and I didn't really see anything from May Archer. But Wasp is a parent, a scholar, a traveler, and all of this while working at the U.S. State Department, found time to write this piece of work. So I think it's worth a review when you can carve out a little piece of time and put something like this together. We should enjoy it. So let's switch over to the synopsis. And I have a shortened version because this had a pretty huge synopsis when I went doing my research for this particular book. But I thought this was an appropriate one. So there's nothing like being blackmailed by a dead man to really bring a group of cons together. And what a group we are. The deal is simple. We do the job, and Bingham's lawyer wipes the slate clean for each of us, one at a time. Now, having read the book, I can tell you this synopsis is spot on. It's also what sort of hooked me, the extended version, of course, about I wanted to do a deeper dive into this piece of work. But I will tell you, should this be something you're interested in, it is an explicit adult entertainment novel. It is a work of fiction, and it has one partial and three full scenes of adult content. So, with that being said, and understanding what lies ahead of you, this may not be what you're interested in. No worries. When I offer our discussions for the books that come here, there will never be a deep dive into anything that should make anybody feel uncomfortable. Now let's talk about the plot of this book. At the core, this plot is about vengeance, and it's about abuse, and it's about family. I think those are the main takeaways for book one, because this is a series of books. And it's important to keep that in mind because as you read this, you realize that the deep dive into all of the main characters takes place in their individual work that's going to come in book two, book three, book four, and however it rolls out. But for this particular book, the characters are Charlie Bingham. He's the dead guy. Starts out the dead guy. Then there's a thief, a hacker, a federal detective, a con artist, and then there's Danny, the twin brother of a rent boy, and then the bodyguard and a hitman is also sort of a character. I don't want to over describe him, but that and the senator, there's a politician involved in this, make up the cast of characters that we're about to explore. And the setting mostly takes place at the reading of Charlie Bingham's will. None of these characters before this are well known to each other, but as you read the book, you may find that there is some crossover into who knows who and what one knows about the other. But in this attorney's office, they find out that Charlie has given them the opportunity to wipe the slate clean, as it said, with the dirty secret he has on everybody in that room. But the deal is they have to work together as a team and right a wrong. In most of the cases of books like this, you usually think somebody's going to wind up But no, there's no murder to what happens here. But I will say that it gets into some dark parts of the story. Um, there's an abusive situation that takes place, which is the wrong that has to be righted. And for the book one, the twin brother, the rent boy, as I mentioned, and that's how he's referred to in the book, is sort of the catalyst for the story we're going to enjoy. Imagine being blackmailed, and there's a video that shows an illicit act with someone that should not be involved in illicit things, and it's your twin, it's not you. So there was the shock and horror of understanding that I cannot believe this is happening to my sibling. And there are deeper reasons as to why this totally blindsides Danny. It goes into a really deep family dynamic that causes this kind of situation. But ultimately, the senator who is at the core of what is going on here puts Danny's twin in a very bad situation. And because of this bad situation, not only do they need to right some things, they need to make sure that this bad person is never allowed to do the kinds of things that he's done to someone else. I hope I've given you enough of the synopsis of the story so that you can appreciate there's a lot that happens within this. And as they embark on trying to work together and become a team to really take care of this. There's also an emerging romance within this dynamic, because once they free the twin brother, he finds himself dealing with the group and in one particular individual more closely than others. And so as I read this book, I found that the romance did the heavy lifting, where the dynamic of this story was so fascinating and where it could have gone in so many different directions, especially based on you're introducing other characters that are going to have standalones. So there can be some lead in as to why they're invested and they're using their skills to be a part of this, because this could eventually or could potentially lead them to prison. But at the core, you have this dynamic. And you also have two narrators that are doing what I consider to be heavy lifting in voicing several characters. And I don't know that that was the strongest way to utilize being an audiobook. If I were to offer a suggestion for a book like this with this many voices, I would say do written if you can, because I think it doesn't do justice to the other characters when you're hearing the same voice and it does not deviate enough to differentiate between who you're listening to. I think there could have been a little more character development. Even though the first book starts out with relatively three main characters, I don't think that they were well developed, and the world building was completely absent. This is per se a throwaway novel were it not for there's a lot of humor written into this, and you start to gain an interest and compassion into seeing this wrong right. So for me, a reader, I stayed connected to the story because I wanted to see justice happen by the time we got to the end of this journey. And this is a standalone. It can be read as an individual novel. If you stop with the first one, it's fine. I found that the first two books are in audible form, and the remainder, I believe there are three other books, are in written form. But all in all, I would say I couldn't find a favorite character out of this. There was no one I that I liked more than anyone, and then I liked less than anyone. Because again, I felt like I would if I were observing them as a study and not being connected to the group and what's at issue here. So I think that could have been done a little better. But I will say that overall it is a just a light read, throwaway romance novel. It's pretty decent. I wrote it to the end. And as you can see over my shoulder here, I have my ratings. And I certainly have a good rating here that I think applies to this particular work. So let's make sure we go through all of the ratings again. And we have here at the top the slow clap. We have a second rating, which is snaps to you. Good effort. Applause, because you definitely need to give this person a cheer. Hopefully they're going to grow as they write more. And then there's 4 cheers, kudos, can't wait to read the next novel. And then there's 5 ovations. You knocked it out of the park time and time again. I would say for this particular work, we're going to give it a 2. We're going to give it its proper snaps. And I look forward to reading more works by this particular author. I didn't hate it, but I think that there is room for a lot more to happen when they write about the characters they develop. So I want to tell you what's up next for the club. As you join me next week, we're going to be reviewing Night, spelled with a K. Knight by Kristen Ashley. I am happy to be reviewing this book. It is one of my favorites. I can honestly tell you I've read that book maybe 5 times. It is just delicious. It's the best way to describe it. So as long as we are all ready, does anyone have anything else they want to contribute to the club before we close out? Well, if that's everything, then let's go ahead and close out the meeting. Let's leave with a focus on what books are out there and return with what can be found. Now, let's make a chapter. Let's close this chapter with a bookmark. And I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.